Hello students, welcome back. So today I will show you how you can build an AI agent that will conduct interview. So the interview bar that I'm creating would have a web interface something like this. It will have a certain number of questions. In this case, I'm just creating only two questions. So let's say my first question could be something like this. What is the difference between list and a tuple in Python? And when would you choose one over the other? So this question, it came from the large language model. And then you're going to enter your answer right here. After you enter your answer, you're going to hit submit button and it's going to give you your response, whether you're right or wrong. Then it's going to ask the next question and it's going to keep going like this. At the end, it's going to print out your final score. So at the end, your web interface will look something like this. It's going to give you a message like this: interview completed. Also, it's going to tell you your final score, and then it's going to ask you, do you want to restart the interview? If you want, you can actually hit restart interview, and it's going to go back and start the other question. So what exactly is an AI agent? Well, AI agent is nothing but a system that can receive input from the user. Also, think using prompts or rules that are supplied by the user. And also, it can take action or produces responses that is dictated by the user. So this little simple flow will help you understand. So the user gives an input right here. It becomes an AI prompt. That would be something like this. The AI prompt, it goes to the LLM model and it performs some kind of reasoning over here, and then it creates an output. It generates an output. This output now will be used to generate a next action. So for example, let's say the user, he asked the AI that help me prepare for a job interview. And our AI agent is going to ask the user, it's going to ask the user some questions, it's going to evaluate those answers, and then it's going to provide feedback to the user. And this is exactly what we will build today. So this is the user, this is you right here. And what the LLM model is going to do is going to ask a question from the user first. The user supplies the answer to the LLM model. The LLM model, it's going to evaluate the answer. And then after evaluation of the answer, it's going to give the feedback to the user. So before I start, I want to explain what a system prompt is. It's basically like setting the brain of your AI. So system prompt, it defines the personality and the behavior of your AI. It tells the AI who it is and what role it should play and how it should behave and what rules to follow. So let's take two examples, one without the system prompt and one with the system prompt. So example without a system prompt would be something like this. Ask me interview question. That's what you're telling the AI. Just ask me interview question. In this particular instance, with the system prompt, you are specifying something like this. You are saying that you are an experienced technical HR interviewer. You are interviewing a candidate for Python developer role. Your behavior, and you specify the behavior that you ask only one question at a time. The question must be conceptual. Maybe you do not want to ask any coding question. The question should test understanding of Python fundamentals. Keep the question clear and concise. Don't make it too wordy. Don't make it too verbose. Do not provide explanations or answers to the questions. Now I want to explain you about prompt chaining. Prompt chaining, it means that the output of one prompt, it becomes the input to another prompt. So for example, this is the flow. So let's say the user gives some prompt. Let's say this is my prompt one. It goes to the large language model. This could be ChatGPT, Claude, or any one of the AI model, and it generates some output. Now this output, it becomes part of the prompt two, and this prompt two could be given to another model, large language model. This could be different model, and then this model is going to produce a final result. The key part is this right here. Here, my prompt 2 is taking the output that came from this model and it's also combining some more additional information over here. And based on that, it generates the final result. So this creates a multi-step reasoning. So suppose we want to ask an interview question, evaluate its answer, and give feedback. So step one, this is my prompt one. You are a Python interviewer. Ask one interview question. It's going to generate an output. So my prompt one goes to your large language model and it's going to generate some output. And the output would be something like, what is the difference between a list and a tuple in Python? So after, when the user receives the question, he answers the question. Maybe he says lists are mutable and tuples are not mutable. Maybe he says something like this. And then we are going to feed the question that was generated and the answer that was supplied by the user. So this would be my prompt 2 right here. So in this case, I'm saying evaluate the following interviewer question. So question, that was the previous question that was generated. That was this right here in the first step. What is the difference between the list and a tuple? So this was the output from the prompt one. That would be this step right here. Answer, the lists are mutable. Tuples are mutable. This is the user's response. So I'm supplying the user response over here. So this is what's happening over here. And then I'm also giving a little instruction, give feedback and score out of 10. So this whole thing right here is my prompt 2. From here all the way up to here. This is my prompt 2. And this prompt 2 also contains the output. That would be this output. The output from the previous LLM model. That would be this output. And now the large language model, it gives the final result. That would be right here. And it would say something like this: you are right about the core concept. Your answers could have been better if you had provided examples. Then it also gives you the score that you scored 7 out of 10. So this right here is my final answer. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you have these libraries installed: OpenAI and Python Dart environment. This one will be responsible for making API call to your OpenAI, and this one is responsible for loading your API keys and loading your environment variables. So the first thing I'm going to do is generate questions. That's my step one. So I'll be doing this step. I'm taking a prompt one, giving to large language model, and the large language model is going to generate an output. This output would be a question. So from my OpenAI, I'm importing OpenAI, also importing OS, and also importing load dart env. This is responsible for loading your environment variables. So I call this function, and this is my OpenAI API key, and then this is my creating an instance of my OpenAI. Now this is my system prompt right here, and here I'm specifying that you are an experienced technical HR interviewer. You're interviewing a candidate for a Python developer role, and your behavior, I'm specifying the behavior, like how this large language model should behave. I'm asking it, you ask only one question at a time. The question must be conceptual, no coding, and the question should test understanding of Python fundamentals. Also keep the question clear and concise, and do not provide any explanations or answer. And now I'm going to supply my question prompt. So this, think of this as a user prompt. So in this case, I'm specifying, I'm saying generate one Python interview question, and you specify your constraint, your restrictions, that the Python should be, sorry, the question should be suitable for an entry level or to a mid-level Python developer. And then you call your API. This is where the call happens. So in this case, I'm using this model GPT-4o mini, and in this case, my message, this is a list of dictionaries. So the first entry in the dictionary is system. So I'm specifying system prompt, the one I just showed you. And this is the role that's taking the user role. And in this case, my prompt is going to be user prompt, the question prompt. That would be this one right here. Okay, and then I'm going to print the response. And then from the response, I'm going to extract the content. And the content would be the answer to this question right here. And then I'm going to print that content. And so this is the output that gets generated. You're going to see all these messages like this. And right here is your question. That was the question that was generated. What is the difference between a list and a tuple in Python? And when would you choose one over the other? By the way, in the response, you're going to see a lot of options over here. You'll see choices, finish reasons, so message. You can see a message over here, content right here. What is the difference between a list and a Python? So this is the one where basically when you asked it to generate a question, it generated this question for you. Also, it tells you the role, and it tells you what it created, what model it used. Then it tells you a lot of things like prompt tokens, completion token, in this case 25, total token used was 127. So it gives you a lot of information. But for our purpose, this is the one that is the important one. So we will be focusing on these ones, on this question. Okay, so this is the code. This is the same code I just showed you a minute ago. So this is my system prompt right here. This is the question prompt. And this is the response. This is the one that's responsible for generating the API. And then I'm going to print the response. I'm also going to print the question. So let's go ahead and run this. So come over here, run this program. And okay, wait for it. It's running. It's going to wait. Okay. And oh, yeah. So, okay, what is the difference? You see, it generated a question for me. What is the difference between mutable and immutable data types in Python? Can you provide an example of each? Let me move this a little bit up. And as you can see, it printed out this right here. This is the same as basically I'm printing this response. So this is my response right here. Then I'm printing the question, what question that this generated, and this is the question right here. All right, great. So our question is working and I'm able to retrieve question from the large language model. And now I'm going to modify that code. I'm going to generate the question using large language model, and then I'm going to ask the question from the user. The user is going to supply an answer, and then I'm going to feed that answer back to the large language model. So first thing I'm doing is importing my OpenAI. This is basically same thing as I did before, loading my environment variables, creating a client instance right here. So this is my system prompt right here. This is exactly the same one as I showed you before, and from my step one. Then this is my question prompt right here. This is exactly the same question. Then create an API call. So this one performs the API call. I'm using the same model, role system and role user. Give your system prompt, give your question prompt. That will be your user prompt. Then this is the question right here. So this is the one that's responsible for getting the question from the large language model. Then I'm also printing out the question. Then right here is I'm asking user to enter his answer. So the user is going to enter his answer over here, and then I'm going to create another prompt. So this is my second prompt. I'm calling it evaluation prompt. So in this case, I'm saying you are Python technical interviewer. Evaluate the candidate's answer to the interview question. So this is the question that was given to me by the previous prompt. So I'm feeding that question to this evaluation prompt right here. I'm also feeding it the answer that the candidate supplied that was over here at this step. And then I'm asking it to perform evaluation. I'm also specifying what type of criteria it should use. So I'm saying that use this criteria: technical correctness, clarity of your explanation, completeness of the answer, and does he have an understanding of the Python concepts. Also giving some instructions right here. Do not repeat the question and keep feedback concise and useful. You really don't need this particular part over here, but I'll be using this in the subsequent, in the third step and fourth step. So that's why I wrote this over here. And then I'm saying return only the following field in this format, in this exact format. So I want the output that comes to the large language model telling me the score. The score should be score out of 10. I'm specifying that. Okay. And also saying that give me the strength, like mention what was the candidate's correct what the candidate answered correctly. Mention that to me. Also tell me the weakness of his response. Mention what was missing or incorrect in his response. So this one right here, I'm sorry, this one right here, these three things, this is the output I want from my large language model based on the second prompt, the evaluation prompt. Okay, then I give it the evaluation prompt right here, supply it. This is the one that's responsible for making API call, and then I'm going to print out the response right here. This is the second response. So let's do that. All right, so let's run this. Come over here, run the file. Let me move this guy a little bit up so you can see the output. Oh, there is that. Yep. All right. Yeah. Okay, where is? Oh, there it is. All right, let's move this guy a little bit up and wait for it. Okay, there you go. So what is the difference between list and a tuple in Python? When would you choose one over the other? That's the question they are asking. All right, I already have the answer written down over here. So I'm just going to do copy and paste right here. So copy, come over here and paste it. So the answer is this right here. There you go. Okay, let me move this guy a little bit up so you can see. Okay, so this was the question: what is the difference between a list and a tuple in Python? When would you choose one over the other? And my answer was this: lists are defined using square brackets, whereas tuples are defined using round brackets. List elements can be modified, tuple elements cannot be modified. And I wrote this thing. Okay, and then I hit enter after this, and it gave me the response. So this is my response. I received score 7 out of 10. Strength, it tells me the strength. The candidate correctly identify the syntax defining list and tuple, as well as the mutability of the list and tuple. All right, weaknesses. It even tells me the weaknesses because that's what I was asking. I was saying in my prompt that give me the strength and also give me the weaknesses. Score, strength, and weaknesses. It gave me all three of them. All right, the candidate's explanation lacks depth, so it gave me all these weaknesses right here. And now the step three. So I'm going to create a command line interface, CLI application. So I'm importing my nested libraries. This is exactly the same one I imported before in loading my environment variables right here. And then in this case, I'm specifying my total question. In this case, I want 2 questions only. You can actually change this to 3, 4, 5, whatever questions you want. Specify your system prompt right here. So in this case, I'm defining the behavior, the personality, and the rules of the AI. That's exactly what system prompt does over here. This is essentially the same one as from my previous steps I showed you. Okay, and then I'm creating these 2 variables: question asked and evaluation of questions. So the first one is going to be storing the list of questions that was asked by your large language model. I want to make sure that it does not repeat the same question twice. So that what I'm going to do is I'm going to store those questions that was asked of me in this list, and then I'm going to supply this list to my large language model, and I'm going to instruct it, do not ask me these questions because it has asked me these questions before. Also, in evaluation of question, I'm writing the evaluation. I'm actually storing the evaluation inside this list just to see what my response looks like. So this way I can do further analysis if needed in the future. Okay, in this case, I'm going to ask only two questions. So I'm running a for loop. I'm asking a question prompt right here. Generate one Python interview question. Constraint. The question should be suitable for an entry to mid-level Python developer. And then right here, I'm specifying, do not repeat these questions. These questions would be question asked. That would be this one right here. So all my questions will be stored over here, all the questions that was asked, and I'm asking it, do not repeat these questions. Okay, and then I'm also printing out the question prompt. Well, I really don't need this thing. I can just delete this. Okay, then come back down here, perform your API call. So this is responsible for performing your API call right here. Give your system prompt, give your question prompt, and then you extract the question from the response you received from the large language model. And then the question you received, you put it inside the question asked. So this way you can remember your previous question. That would be this right here. So I'm appending that question, whatever the question I got it from the large language model, appending it to this list right here. And then I'm printing out the question for the user right here. Okay, so the user gets the question. I ask the user to supply his answer. He's going to give his answer. And then after that, I'm going to write an evaluation prompt. This is my second prompt that's going to go to the large language model. I'm going to feed the question, and then I'm also going to feed the answer, the candidate's answer that was provided to me by the user. Okay, and then I'm gonna, this is basically now essentially the same thing as the previous one. The previous step I showed you, evaluation criteria, same thing, instructions exactly same, and everything is exactly same as the previous one. And then I'm gonna ask it to generate like an API response right here. So this is the API response I got. And then this is my response, and then I'm storing the response inside this evaluation of questions. So this is the list right here. So I'm appending that. I'm also printing out the evaluation response right here. At the end, I'm print out a little thank you message, and then at the end also printing out questions, all the questions that was asked of me, and also each evaluation for each one of these questions. I'm going to print these ones out. So let's run this. Come back over here, run Python file, wait for it. Let me move this guy a little bit up so you can see now, and wait. All right. What is the difference between list and tuple in Python? When would you use one over the other? So I'm just going to do copy and paste this part. Copy this, come over here, paste it. So this is my first question. Hit enter, and the response went to the large language model. It gave me a response. Oh, I'm sorry. The answer went to the large language model. Okay, and then gave me the response. This is the evaluation response right here. Then the next question, what is the purpose of self parameter in the instance method in Python classes? Let's say I write something as gibberish. Self is for referencing itself, something like that. All right, hit enter, and there you go. So now let me just increase the size of the screen. So as you can see, it printed out the questions right here. Okay, I'm printing out the question, and I'm also printing out the thank you. So it says thank you right there. And before it prints out the thank you, it also gave me the okay, this is my answer right here. It gave me the feedback score. It was 4 out of 10. So the second response was not a good response. It gave me 4 out of 10. The first one was also not great response. It gave me 4 out of 10. All right. Was it for yeah, that was 4 out of 10. And then print out the thank you message right here. And then the question, this is the list of the question right here. Then this is where's the other one? Where my evaluation response, evaluations would be, I don't know if you can see, there it is, evaluation right here. So it tells me these are my evaluation response. So if you want to analyze further, you can go ahead and extract relevant information from this particular list. And now we are going to build our web interface. So first thing you want to do is make sure you have this library installed, Streamlit. If not, go ahead, run this command, and that's going to install this library. So this is the command you have to run. Okay, so import my OpenAI, also importing OS, import .nv, and also import your Streamlit after this. I'm also importing RE. This is for regex. This is going to allow me to extract my score. So I'm doing the same thing. This is basically loading my environment and also specifying my total number of question, and I'm creating a title. So in this case, the on the web interface, you're going to see a message that the web interface will say something like this: AI job interview bot. Okay, then I'm creating some state variables for my session. So question number, in this case, I'm starting with question number one. So this is, think of this as a counter. And this is my question asked. So this is the one that's going to store all the questions that was asked of so far. So this is going to keep track of all your questions. Also scores right here. This is going to store the score for every single question that was responded to by the user. So the AI is going to evaluate the response and is going to give some score. And so you're storing all those scores inside this list right here. And then this one right here. This is the current question. So it's basically going to ask a current question. It's going to store that over there. Also, I'm going to store submitted, whether this question has been submitted or not. So this is just a variable, a Boolean variable. And then this is the last feedback right here. So this one will remember what was the last feedback that was provided. So this way I can access and do certain things with that if I want to. And then this is the interview started. Has the interview started? So in this case, it's going to have a Boolean variable, true or false. So initially I'm specifying interview has not started. So that's false. This is the last answer variable. So in this case, what I'm doing, I'm storing the previous answer the user entered. So this way I can display the previous answer. So that's what the purpose of these variables are. Okay, so my system prompt. So this is essentially the same system prompt that we designed before. Nothing changed over here. So now I'm creating a little function. So this function is responsible for generating questions. So this is my question prompt right here. Everything is same. The only difference is now, oops, sorry, let's come over here. The only difference is like right here, I'm using from my Streamlit, I'm using the question asked, I'm retrieving all that, and I'm putting it over here. And I'm saying, do not repeat any questions from this list right here. I'm giving a little instruction. And then I'm performing the API call in this function right here. And then at the end over here, I return the, well, in this case, no, I'm not returning. Basically, oops, sorry. Coming back over here, I'm actually storing the current question. I'm also storing the question that was asked. So I'm storing that question inside this list. The list is question asked right here. Okay, that's all that function does. Then this is my main function right here. So this is the one that is responsible for generating and running this application. So in this case, start the interview button. So if your interview has not started yet, so go ahead, start that. And then you put a little button, right? Start interview. And then put the variables interview started as equal to true, store that as a true. So this way you know the interview has started. Generate a question. This is responsible for generating your question. Okay, right here. And then I wanted to rerun, just start your Streamlit. This is responsible for that. Okay, then right here, now I'm gonna show the question and handle the answer flow from the user. So if my current question is not equal to blank, in other words, there is something in it, then you're gonna put subheader question right here of the total question. So this way you can see the previous question. You can see question one of two, question two of two, question three of three. You can see these numbers right here. Write your questions over here. So this is responsible for writing your question. All right, and then I'm going to check if the question has not been submitted. Then answer is going to write your answer, and then this logic over here is going to submit. There's a button called submit answer, and when the user hits that button, so it's going to take that evaluation prompt right here. It's going to create the evaluation prompt, and this is essentially the same prompt that I did before. Okay, everything you can see there's the same instruction. Nothing changes over here, and then I'm going to perform this API call right here, and this one is responsible for getting your response from the large language model. I'm actually getting that, and then I'm extracting the score. So this is the one that's new right here. Here I'm actually once I get the score, I'm actually extracting the score using regex. So regex allows me to extract certain scores from that string. And if you remember, the string would be something like, if you go back on top, this is your score right here. You're going to see like 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. I want to extract the 7, the 8, whatever the score that was given. And this is what this code does. This actually extracts that. Now, if it has found a match, it's going to create the score, and it's going to put the score inside this list, inside this, there you go, score right here. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, inside the scores. There's a scores list right here. Inside the scores, it's going to put the score. That's going to hold all your score for all the questions. Okay, and then right here, then I'm going to give a feedback question asked. So this is the question that was asked, and this was the answer from the previous, and then more questions remaining. Then as long as your number of questions remaining is less than total question, because you want to make sure that you ask like total 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever question you have specified in the beginning, it's going to keep doing this thing. It's going to keep asking you that question as long as this condition has not met. Okay, and then it's going to just go in a loop. It's going to generate the question, it's going to run again, and then at the end it's going to say interview completed, and then it's going to say final score. At the end it's going to print out your final score right here. So it's going to calculate the final score first right here. It's going to add all the scores from your scores list, divide by the total number of records you have, and that's going to be your final score. And then at the end it's going to say thank you for completing the AI interview, and then it's going to say restart interview. It's going to create this button, and if you click on this button, it's going to restart the interview. All right, so this is the code, and then I call my main function. Let's run this. So come over here, click on this, and wait for it. And this should open up the web browser now. Oh, warning. Okay, what just happened? Okay, so in order to run this application, you have to run this command right here. Do not click on this. Okay, this is not going to work. So copy this and paste it over here, and there you go. And I'm going to hit enter and just wait for it. And my browser opened up. There you go. All right, AI job interview bot. Let me increase the size of the screen so you can see. All right, start the interview. So click on start interview. And you can see this guy running. He's doing some stuff. All right, what is the difference between shallow copy and deep copy? So come back over here. Do I have, okay, yeah. So I'm just going to copy this right here. Let's just come over here. Okay, copy. Come over here. Put this answer out here. And that's it. And hit submit answer. And this guy is running. All right, something is going on. All right, so there you go. What is it? So this was the question. What is the difference between shallow copy and deep copy? Question asked, what was this? This was my answer right here. Gave me a score, 8 out of 10. Strength, it tells me what is the strength of my answer. Also tells me the weaknesses. What is the weakness of my answer? All right, good. Next question. Let's click on this. Okay, this is the next question. What is the purpose of init method in Python class? Well, I'm going to say is this is for initialization. This is for creating constructors. And that's it. Okay. And let's hit submit answer. And this guy is still running. All right, this is good. So AI job, okay. Question 2 of 2, what is the purpose of init? So this was the question that was asked of me, and this was the answer right here. This was the answer right here. Okay, that I supplied and gave me a score of 5 out of 10. Strength, it tells me the strength of my answer, also tells me the weakness. And interview completed. Now it tells me the final score, 6.5 out of 10. And then it says, thank you for completing the AI interview, restart interview. Now you can see this final score is basically the average of this and the previous score. So this is my final score.